of Americans, and nobody gave the Native Americans any consideration at all.
No, they weren't mentioned in the treaty.
Yeah, no doubt.
That was, they were screwed all the way.
Exactly.
Welcome, everybody. Good to see all these happy faces around the room, and thank you for allowing us to start a few minutes early. We've just got a very full agenda today, and we want to be sure that we give the speaker her due and get everybody out on time. Today, the call for introspection will be Sherman Lee. The song leader will be Judy Clark, and the Pledge of Allegiance, Betsy Bohannon. So, Mayor Lee.
Thank you, Sherman.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Each year, March 8th is observed as International Women's Day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women from all around the world. This year, the International Women's Day theme is embracing equity. We can all challenge gender stereotypes, call out discrimination, draw attention to bias, and seek inclusion. But in the words of G.D. Anderson, feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It is about changing the way the world perceives that strength. I want to take this opportunity to show my appreciation for all the strong, caring, intelligent, and amazing women in the city of Roanoke and in this room, for all you do for our community. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's sing our national anthem. Wait,
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Harry Zuloff will be introducing our guests today. Harry?
Thank you. Still coming in.
And they're still coming in.
Good afternoon. I'm going to introduce all the guests and their host. If they would stand along with their host and remain standing until the end, And then we'll give you a big Kiwanis welcome. First, we've got Steve and Chris Stutzman. They're with Bridge Builders. And Ken Briggs is the host. I've got Pandora Starkey, again, Bridge Builders. And Ken Briggs. I've got Kathy Harris, a bridge builder. But this time it's J.C. Taylor, that's the host. Lori Taylor, J.C. Taylor. Why?
Yeah.
Scott Flanagan, WSLS. Bruce Swanson is the host. Lurleen and Prather Lanier, a friend of Patricia Harris, and Shayna Creech, a friend of Patricia Harris. So these are our guests. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Thank you.
That Bridge Builders group's making stuff happen. March birthdays, Gene Bollendorf will come and wish everyone a happy birthday, whether it's your birthday or not.
All right, well, first up was Bruce Swanson last Friday, March 3rd, and I asked Bruce if it was his big birthday. He said, Gene, you're all big birthdays. So that's our 10th. March 5th, Joyce Montgomery. I think she spent it at a conference. March 10th, Wendy Mellentine. March 11th, Don Wilson. Also on March 11th, Reggie Wood. March 13th, Mayor Lee. March 15th, David Lemon. March 18th, Russell Clay. March 19th, Preston Collins. March 20th, Donna Lynch. March 24th, Sherry Hartman and Joe Lemmer. March 27th, Dick Clemmer. March 30th, Dave Perry, who didn't make it today, so he missed his shout out. And March 31st, Bill Bestich. Now, where are my singers in the room? I need some help with the happy birthday song.
Oh, there you go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Jill. I'm good, Angela. How are you?
Another great day at Kiwanis. Don Wilson is
Oh,
going
no
to
problem at all.
introduce us to a
So
new member.
I think I'm supposed to email these documents to you, right?
Before I do that, I want to remember to quote when Mayor Lee said today's International Women's Day. One of my favorite quotes is from Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, "Women are like tea bags. You never know how strong they are until they're in hot water." One of the nicest things we can do as a Kiwanian is to invite a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, a family member to join us at a Kiwanis luncheon. We call that sharing the K. And today we're happy to say that Jean Bollendorf has shared the K with Peg McGuire and invited her to join our club. So Peg, I'm going to ask you to come up here with Jean and Jean to introduce Peg to the group. Come on around here, Peg.
I'll just talk about my experiences with Peg. Please don't. They're not all on the wall. Okay, thank you. Peg is a wife and mother of 2 boys, but she's a lot more than that. She's also an independent marketing consultant. And many of you recognize her name from her political aspirations. Some of you may have even voted for her in the past. Peg and I go way back to the Virginia Museum of Transportation. transportation when she spearheaded the 611 campaign, which was a really big deal. And we've been friends ever since. She also serves on the board of directors for Virginia Children's Theater. Here she is.
Am I supposed to say something? Okay. I can prepare anything. Yes.
I think you speak.
Wait, sorry.
Peg, we're delighted to have you join our Kiwanis Club and we're looking forward to working
Thank
with
you.
you. You've been given an orientation, you kind of learned about what's expected of a Kiwani and you know to make a great
For about
member.
12 years.
Absolutely. Before we get you formally inducted, I want to give you this pair of work gloves. Work gloves are something we give our new members, are symbolic of being a Kiwani. And they're used, and when we put them on for our service projects or something, we put your little finger in. I want you to think about the big things that we do for the less fortunate in our community that we serve. And our ring fingers signifies the group of friends that you're going to make in this Kiwanis Club and throughout the community through our service projects. Our Kiwanis Club stands above the other service organizations in the valley, just as the middle finger stands above the others on the grade. Our index finger points to a better community through our service projects, and when we finish one of those projects, we'd like to give a thumbs up. So think about that when you put those gloves on for our next service project. I have for you a new member packet. It contains quite a bit of information. It has our brand new club roster in there, our new member badge, and the new member pin, yes, pin badge. And there's also some information there about our 501c3 foundation. It's a supporter of the Kiwanis Club service budget. So I just want you to make good use of all of that. We look forward to having you in the club. I'd like everyone to please stand and put your fingers and hands together and welcome Peg to the choir.
For the benefit of our guests, we're about to make a grant presentation. Kiwanis this past year passed out roughly $50,000 in grants to 27 local nonprofit and charity organizations. This is made possible through our foundation, which Don just referenced, but also through club membership and through the Pancake Day, which is up and coming. So without further ado, Judge Haberman.
And thank you, President Ben. Our first one today is Make a Wish. And Clark Bechtel and Sherry Dillon, would you please come up? Clark's going to tell us, Sherry's going to tell us a little bit about the organization, and then Clark's going to say a few words about what they are going to do with the grant. Sherry?
Good afternoon, I'm Sherry Dillon, and it's my honor to introduce Clark Bechtel with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Don't really have to say a whole lot about Make-A-Wish. I think you all know about Make-A-Wish. They grant wishes for special needs children, critically ill children. So I just felt it's a natural fit for what we do. So it's my honor to introduce Clark.
Thank you, Sherry. My name is Clark Bechtel with Make-A-Wish Greater Virginia. I'm very happy to be here and accept this grant. This money will go towards granting one of many wishes, like Hobby's wish to be a firefighter for a day, or Claire's wish to be a part of the ballet for a day. We do a ton of different types of wishes, and every little bit counts. So thank you all very much.
Picture. Oh, that's all right. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, here you go.
Oh, very well.
I know, right?
Okay, for our second grant, it is going to St. Vincent's Home, and And Patty Cook, would you please come up, and Dan Carnes, please? And Dan, tell us a little bit about St. Vincent's Home. And Patty, if you would then tell us a little bit about what you want to do with the grant. Thank you. Dan.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce Patty Cook. She's the Director of Development for what is now Virginia Institute of Autism. And what they do is intervene in children's lives and make them better. Very happy she's here today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just love to share with you that you have been a partner with our organization for a very long time. And so thank you very much for that. We serve individuals with autism and developmental disabilities through the lifespan, so children and adults. And the funds that we're receiving today will go to an adult program. We have a program that is a day support program called the Hub. And the Hub has a micro business called Hub Prints. And Hub Prints needs materials for their printing business. So you may see their materials, their products in town. They sell tote bags and soon to be selling mugs as well. So thank you very much for this grant. We really appreciate your work.
Okay, now we're ready. Okay, one more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have some very distinguished guests with us today. John Pendleton is going to introduce us to some members of the North Side Key Clubs. John?
Thank you, Ben. It's my pleasure as the sponsor for the Key Club at Northside High School for the past several years to introduce you to these students who I think will also prove the power of women as I introduce the officers here. First, let me just recognize their faculty advisor, Lauren Zine. Stand up. Despite all the difficulties we've had the last few years, she's maintained the club and kept it very active and productive. The president of the club is Courtney No. Courtney, would you stand? Vice President Laura Thomason. Secretary Jennifer Tran. Treasurer for Kemp. And they have the webmaster Olivia Duvall. I'm going to ask Catherine just to say a few words about what the club's been doing. Courtney, I'm sorry.
Hi everyone, I'm Courtney and I'm a junior at Northside. I'm also the Key Club president, as you heard from Mr. Pendleton. As the year slowly comes to an end, I'd like to say that I've had a blast serving as the club president alongside my fellow exec team, which you just met a second ago. We've accomplished so much, and in comparison to previous years, I feel we've grown more as a club. We've accumulated over 250 hours of service across our entire club so far, with many left to earn. We've had the opportunity to volunteer at the Rescue Mission, Kids Soar, which are both nearby here, nursing homes. We've donated to many food drives and other community service activities, like picking up around Horton Park off of Melrose with the Clean Valley Council on MLK Day, and also had the opportunity to clean up around our school campus. We've had the opportunity to give back to our community in many ways, and we couldn't do it without our advisor, Ms. Ion. As for the future of our club, I've been elected to serve as the school year 23-24 lieutenant governor, and our club will be passed on to another teacher, Miss Hendricks. I believe that I have many opportunities as LTG, and that Miss Hendricks and the next executive team will be great in continuing what our club has built so far. Thank you, guys.
Next, we're going to have an autobiography by Judge Bob Haber.
Thanks, Ben. First, I want to say I'm just a little disappointed. I thought I'd get at least an hour and a half in my autobiography, but Ben tells me I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to have to talk fast. Okay, first of all, my mom came from a little town in northeast Nebraska, 500 people on the Missouri River, and my father was a Youper. That's a person from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And he told me they have 2 seasons there. They have winter and they have July. They met in Lincoln, Nebraska, and married, and shortly thereafter, they moved to Washington, D.C., where my father worked as a research scientist for about 40 years at the National Institutes of Health. I was born in Washington, went to grade school there and high school there, but for 6 years in the summer, my folks would send me off to this little town in Nebraska where I'd work in the family businesses. It was kind of an interesting life because during the school year, I was a city boy, and during the summers, I was a farm boy. It was there that I drove my first car, hit my first home run, drank my first beer, and kissed my first girl. More would follow later. I went to school in Omaha, Nebraska, and then law school in Washington, D.C., where I got a Juris Doctorate, followed by an LLM. Once I finished law school, I went into the Army as a brand new first lieutenant. And after a period of active duty, I served 29 years in the reserves as an Army lawyer and a judge hearing Article 15 cases for reservists. After active duty, I ended up at the Department of Labor. And for 4 years, I was in charge of a legal office of 125 lawyers and support staff. We were located just a couple of blocks from the White House. And every once in a while, we'd get a call from the Secretary of Labor, and they say, "Bob, would you gather up your staff and go over to the White House? You know the drill." So I'd gather up my staff and we'd go over on the South Lawn and start waving as the President Bush or President Reagan and his wife would walk from the residence to the helicopter pad. You may have seen that on the news, and that was us. Okay, well, President Bush must have liked me in some way because I was appointed to the bench and served 25 years, primarily as a trial judge, but 2 years as an appellate judge. Let me give you a real quick short story of one of my trials. I was in Bluefield, West Virginia on a hot, humid summer's day. And after lunch, I had a Social Security disability case, and this lady came in, and you could tell that she was terrified to appear before a judge, especially a tall one, and be in court. I could see that she was scared. Well, anyways, I had her have her raise her right hand, and I said, "Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?" And as soon as I said that phrase, "so help you God," this huge thunderbolt went off. Like, kaboom! She thought I had the power of heaven and earth, I suspect. I believed every word she told me that afternoon. Also, during this time, I was active in the Federal Bar Association, and I became national chair of the judicial division. And for 8 years, I was the editor of the Federal Jurist. I'm sure that's a publication all of you have read from time to time. Okay, after I retired in 2015, I've written or I've published 3 novels, and 3 more are in various stages of being published. I used to tell people that I was proud to say that I've sold less than 1 million copies of these books. And I tell you, it's true, far less than 1 million copies of these books. But it's something I enjoy. Also, I recorded a CD of 15 original songs with the help of a couple of members of the Kings. That's a group that I think many of you are familiar with, and some other local musicians. The songs can be found on iTunes, on Apple Music, on Spotify. Just a second. Ben, I don't think that's a brag book, is it? Well, I hope it's not a brag book because I don't have $3 left. Okay, I've also been the chair of the local chapter of the Federal Bar Association. For 3 years, I've been president of the English-speaking union. I'm a member of the Military Officers of America board and their awards chair. I'm a member of the Roanoke Bar Association and the Roanoke Law Foundation and a couple of other organizations. Here in Kiwanis, I know you know me as the grants chair. I'm a member of the board and the foundation board member, among other things. My wife Linda and I have been together now 50 years, and we've lived in Roanoke for 2000, since 2000, not for 2000. It seems that long, but it really has. And she's the love of my life. We have no children, but we have Baxter, the wonder dog, and he's such a good boy. And thank you very much for listening.
Very well done. We all like those. Like my wife, we've been married 46 years, and she said it's the best 4 or 5 years of her life. Let me do some announcements. Sign-up sheets for Jersey Boys are on the table. Do you all have those? Looks like this will be a fun evening a week from tomorrow. Correct? A week from tomorrow. Gathering at the Harrison Museum for cocktails and a little light nosh, and then off to see the play.
At 6.
At 6, right. If you haven't signed up, please do. We had room for, I think Larry Koopel said we had 80 spots, and last count we were at 60. Okay. The officers will meet today in my office at 3 o'clock. Cocktails at 4. The prayer breakfast. Let's see, Jackie gave me notes about the prayer breakfasts. It's also on your table. All the information is located there. It's also available on the website. Tickets, we're going to start selling tickets, I think, after pancakes get started. We're going to sell tickets. They'll be $8. $10 is certainly welcome if you want to do that. But tickets will be available. Our sponsor this year again is House Motor Freight. We're very thankful for them. We'll be having breakfast at Kazan Temple at 7 a.m. and the date is the 4th of May. Again, this is on your table and the information is also on your website. There is a new member orientation next Tuesday. That's the 14th, correct? Yes. The 14th. It'll be at the Western Virginia Water Authority in their boardroom. We have a couple of folks that we hope to see there. Lunch will be provided. Kids Fishing Day is coming up. That's the 22nd. April 22nd. There is, let's see, that's also the day that they're having a kind of a mini district convention in Wytheville, and I think some may be making arrangements to attend that. We also have information about a Spring Fun Day. It's a meeting being held by Joe Gaither. It'll be available via Zoom. It's Tuesday morning, the 16th. That's Tuesday morning, the 16th at 8 a.m. Okay, it says Tuesday here, but Thursday. Thursday morning, the 16th at 8 a.m. That'll be available by Zoom. We should have that information on the website, but please, if you are interested, reach out to Joe or to Sherry Hartman and let her or him know of your interest, and they'll be sure you get the Zoom link. And finally, the Kiwanis Nature Park Committee will meet at 4 p.m. at the Melrose Library on Monday, the 13th. Join us. They're talking about doubling the wildflower garden, the size of the wildflower garden. And they're finalizing the development on Larry the Log Birch, the children's book that they're working on. That all sounds like pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. Anything else? Am I missing anything here? All right. Well, with that, we have time for brag bucks, which was the whole point of the exercise this afternoon. So we have Mike McAvoy, we have Hi Nicely, we have John Montgomery, we have Reeve Kessler, and we have Mike O'Brockton. So I would say, let's get in the queue and let's get it going.
I'm not sure I was first in that list, but I'll jump up here.
Keep going.
My brag day is a little bit long in that this past weekend, I, along with other Kiwanians from the Roanoke Club and clubs throughout the Capital District, attended a midwinter conference where we were inundated with education and new knowledge and challenged to continue to grow Kiwanis, not only through the Capital District, but worldwide. One of the things that I've learned in Kiwanis is we do better when we make others happy. I just found out today that this past Friday was National I Want You to Be Happy Day. I didn't know there was one. However, I also found out through a Chinese proverb, if you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. That's what we do. So with that, I have a ad for you. One is your club, our club, sent to the Capital District Midwinter their contribution to the Kiwanis Foundation. I'm fortunate enough to be the president-elect for that coming in October. I took the Roanoke check, bragged about you guys until everybody else's eyes kind of glazed over. And then was able, after that, to challenge my brothers on the board to contribute a little money. We raised an extra $1,200 during the board meeting, because they all believe what we believe, that what we do is good for Kiwanis, for children, but it's good for us too. You feel good when you give to help others. Now for the sales pitch. We will have Ducky Derby again this year. It's going to be a little different in that all the tickets will be online. You can go online to the Capital District Foundation, buy as many tickets as your checkbook will allow. If you run out of the checkbook, use your credit card. This past year, we raised about $15,000 through Ducky Derby sales. This past year was one of the largest we've ever had. I do believe that this year, by having access online, that we'll surpass that. Help us do that. Thank you.
There's nobody else standing in line. I just wanted to brag and make an announcement about Courtney No. You'll remember she was up here just a few minutes ago outlining the accomplishments under her leadership as president of the Northside Key Club this past year. Courtney is an example, and there are others in the Key Club world of service-oriented high school students that we hope will one day become Kiwanis members, maybe even Kiwanis presidents here in Roanoke and other spots around the country or perhaps around the world. Courtney told you, and I was really going to announce this, that she has recently decided to step up her game, so as they say during March, and has been elected as the Division 15B Lieutenant Governor for the next year. She's going to go to the district convention here later this month and is working on arrangements to go to the international convention during the summer. And yes, I just wanted to ask you to join me in thanking her for her and give to her our appreciation for her willingness to lead and serve. Courtney, stand up again and thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Michael Brockton, up here again to say something about people that are leading KPAD this year. 2 weeks ago, I bragged about the creativity of Amy Carter. I bragged about the creativity of Greg Lineberger. Well, today I'm here to brag about Alex Barge, sitting right over there. Relatively new member, you know him, he runs the newsletter. But let me tell you what else he's doing. He has written and following a KPAD communications marketing plan. Awesome stuff. I'm also bragging about Bart Wilner. Bart, I hope you're on Zoom today, because if you were here, your head would not fit in the room. He's connected us with two really positive marketing opportunities. He's connected us with the Roanoke Regional Chamber of Commerce. They have a new president and CEO. And he's connected us with Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge. Both of those organizations are going to help us promote KPAD this year, as will you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mike McAvoy, and I'm here to brag on the club's volunteer spirit. And what I mean by that is we have a couple of events that members have been asking me about that we've done in past years. And it's just really great to see everyone excited about these kind of events going on. First was Read Across America Day. The schools are still trying to figure out kind of their post-COVID procedures for people to come into school and volunteering and everything like that. And so we really didn't have anything planned this year, but last minute, Preston Park, where my wife teaches, they reached out and they said they needed a few readers. And so Jim Randall's read, and I read, and so did Clark Goodman. But more importantly, I probably got about 8 or 10 Kiwanis asked if they could read, and they just didn't need that many volunteers. So I promise you next year we'll have a concerted effort to try to get back to Read Across America like we've done in the past. It's a great event. The second one is the marathon. If you've volunteered in the past, and many of you have, you're starting to get emails about the marathon. This year, the marathon and Kids Fishing Day are on the same time. So we decided not to do anything formal with the marathon because we didn't want to compete for volunteers with Kids Fishing Day. So please sign up for Kids Fishing Day. But also, I did tell the volunteer coordinators for the marathon that we would try to get a few volunteers. So Don's a good example. Don has signed up for the marathon, but outside the kind of window that we need for Kids Fishing Day. He's going to pour beer at the event Friday night. So if you have the time this weekend, there's 2 events, April 22nd, you can sign up for. But we're not doing anything formal like an aid station like we've done in the past for the marathon. But please, if you've got the time, you can do something Friday. I think they have some sign up slots for Sunday. You can do those and still do Kids Fishing Day in the morning on Saturday, the 22nd. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Montgomery, Secretary of the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke, and what a great club we have. I'd like to talk about that, but I really want to focus on a particular item because we're doing so well on time, and that is Kiwanian Bill Logan passed away at the end of February. We talked about the last couple of weeks, and Bill had been a Kiwanian for 30 years, a very quiet Kiwanian who led by example, supported a number of projects behind the scenes and coordinated our invocations for several years. His widow sent a note at 10 o'clock this morning that I asked President Ben if we could share. John, thank you to the Kiwanis Club of Roanoke for remembering Bill in the email you sent about him, for the cards and notes to our family, and for all the many friendships he made along the way. Bill loved Kiwanis and all that it stood for, its service to communities local and worldwide. Keep up the good work. Sincerely, Sarah Logan.
Thank you, John. That's nice. JC, you want to introduce our speaker?
I will.
All right.
I will add my brag into this.
Good afternoon to all of you. I want to just take this opportunity to introduce the speaker to you today. However, I want to just say, I'm going to steal a brag book here while I'm here. I want to introduce to some of you may not know, we have a Kiwanian with us today who happens to be my brother-in-law and who happens to be the husband of the speaker. Mr. Reginald Harris is back with us today. Give my hand. Got him back today. We had to get his wife here to speak to get him out. Glad to see you, Reggie. His beautiful daughter and their beautiful daughter, Shana Harris, Creech, here today. She works up somewhere around the White House, keeps things going up there. I have some more family members back here. My wife's back here, and two of my nieces, Miss Lurleen Lanier, and then there's Pandora, and there's some church members, all members of the Bridge Builders Club. I know I got a brag in on that, John. I'm just gonna go ahead and pay you for it. So somebody's gonna get me before I get out the door. How much is it?
I think $5.
I knew they gonna get me. I ain't giving you that. Go on, pay for the brag. They will get you. If they come up here and brag before you get out of here, they'll get you. Now I want to talk about the speaker today. I have not much problem introducing the speaker. She happens to be my sister. One of us a little older than the other one. I'm gonna let you all figure that out. Patricia Harris is our speaker today. A little bit about her. Patricia was a retired school teacher. She finished school at Virginia State University, and she taught for 31 years, social services and all kind of other stuff in the Franklin County school system. Her story today is a very unique story, and I asked her to tell your story. Patricia was very smart. She was very smart at home. Back in our day, they had what was known as different kind of punishment. You didn't get, I never heard of, what do you call it, timeout. I never heard of timeout till I started getting kids, and I got on one of my kids one day, and he said, "Dad, that's not timeout. That hurt." So, well, that's what I was used to. So anyway, Patricia never got into that punishment. She was so smart. She was smart in school, but around the house, she was very clever. She was clever enough to always know how to get pain. Something was already hurting her before mama could get to her. So she never ever, I can ever remember her getting any kind of a spanking. She was always smart enough to work her way out of it. But I think about 17 years ago, 15 to 17 years ago, Patricia had an incident and she was in a Korean hospital. I'm not going to tell her story, but I'm going to lead you into what the reason she's here. The doctors, some of you in here are doctors, the doctors called the family in on this young lady and told her, and I was there when he told me, I have no idea what else we can do. The only thing we can do now is turn her over to God. He said, I'm done. The family was in to see her. 17 years later, she's telling the story. And she wrote a book. And the name of the book is, I Believe, I Testify. That book sold lots of copies 15, 16 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, live and in color, Patricia Harris.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to first thank the Kiwanis for allowing me to come and share my story today. It's a story, it's a very true story about the power of prayer and faith in healing. I also want to thank my brother. He told me back in probably the end of January, you are going to speak at the Kiwanis Club meeting on March 8th. He told me.
He doesn't.
He didn't ask me, he told me. And that made me very nervous. And then a little bit later on, he told me, now Joe Gaither is going to talk a few weeks before you. And Joe Gaither is a good speaker, you know that. So you, girl, are gonna have to bring it. And that can do anything but heighten my nervousness. So if I make a mistake today, if I say something I shouldn't say, blame JC. I am.
We almost always do.
Yes, good idea. Especially though, in 2006, that experience that I had with all the medicine and all the stuff that they treated me with left me with brain fog. So what they called it, I don't know what they called it back then, but today they call it brain fog. And there's a possibility that I'm gonna like forget a word or something. So just look over that, please, and I'll just do the best I can. Okay, it's an honor for me to be here. And I think you all are a wonderful service-oriented group. And I appreciate the work that you do for the county. In 2006, like JC told you, a doctor at Roanoke Memorial Hospital told my family, we've done all we can do for her. It's in the master's hands now. I was in Roanoke Memorial Hospital in the rehab center for a month. And after I left the hospital, I went to the rehab center. After I left the rehab center, I went back to my doctor about 2 weeks after I left the rehab center. And the doctor said to me, I've been keeping up with what's going on with you at Roanoke Memorial Hospital. I've been keeping up with what happened and the treatment. And he said, you are a miracle. Those were his exact words. You are a miracle. And I hope that you today will understand why I believe, like some scientists and some doctors, that faith and prayer play a part in healing. A lot has happened since it's in the master's hands and you are a miracle. Hopeful you will understand why I felt so compelled to tell my story. In February 2006, I started feeling really bad. I was having headaches, tiredness, pain, nausea that lasted for about 2 weeks. And then it worsened. The pain became constant. It was a constant part of my night and day. My temperature went up. The pain worsened. And it was hard for me to lay down without a lot of pain. Early on, one Saturday morning, I called Reggie. Now I've been staying in another room because I was tossing and turning and couldn't sleep. So I got up and woke him up and told him that I needed to go to the emergency room. And then another reason I needed to go to the emergency room was that I was experiencing shortness of breath. And shortness of breath can scare you. At least it scared me. So he took me over to the hospital. And when we got there, the doctor started trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I was in the emergency room probably about 8 to 10 hours. They did a CT scan. They started giving me pain medicine, doing all kind of blood work like doctors do. I'm not going to criticize any doctors. They did all of these things. And then when they thought I was stable, they put me in a room, a regular hospital room. They gave me meds, like I said, that when they thought I was stable, they moved me. And the next day, they had given me medicine that affected my thinking ability. And Reggie told me to tell this story, so I'm gonna tell it. They affected my thinking abilities, and I wasn't thinking clearly. So this guy who was a cardiologist, hope there's nobody here that. He came in the room to see me, and I wasn't quite lucid, and he said to my family, she's had a slight heart attack. And there I was, sounding like somebody who's drunk. I said, I ain't had no heart attack. He said, yes, you have. No, I ain't had no heart attack. How do you know? I know, because I know. I ain't had no heart attack. So he said, yes, you have. And I think I insulted his intelligence by telling him I know I didn't have a heart attack. So he walked over to the door and looked back at me and he said, yes, you did. And went on out the door. Now, Reggie wanted me to tell you that story just to let you know that even when I'm not lucid, I like to argue. The next day, they took an x-ray of my chest, and there had been significant worsening of my condition. The air spaces in my lungs were being affected. I was described as having worsening respiratory distress. doctors explained that something had invaded my body and was attacking my lungs aggressively. My condition worsened even more. And they were trying to figure out what was going on while I was coughing more and while my temperature was going up, while I was having more pain. So they were asking questions like, does she live in a house that has mold in it? The answer was no. Is she living near some place where excavation is going on? No. Has she been out of the country? No. So they got no to all those questions, and a day later, I was still having worsening respiratory distress. And so they decided that they were going to move me to the intensive care unit on the 8th floor. That was called the medical and surgical unit. They moved me to the section of what was then the medical and surgical unit on the 8th floor. And Dr. Levitoff, who was there at the time, I think he's in Norfolk now, told my daughter that is the sickest of sick places on the 8th floor. At that time, my family was considering moving me to either Duke or to UVA. And they were called to the hospital. And they were told that we had to make a quick decision if we were going to move her, if they were going to move me to another hospital. And he also told them that I was critically ill and that there were dangers associated with moving me to either Duke or UVA. But if we left them, if they left me in Roanoke Memorial, he would treat me like I was a member of his own family. Now, they decided it, they discussed it, and my daughter was so passionate about leaving me at Roanoke Memorial. And they looked at what Dr. Levitoff had said. He'd take care of me like I was his own member of his own family. So they decided to leave me at Roanoke Memorial Hospital. Now, in ICU on the 8th floor, I was gasping for air. In spite of all that was going on, I couldn't breathe. But before that, Dr. Levitoff took them around the corner of the room and showed them an x-ray. Showed them 2 x-rays. One x-ray of normal lungs and one of my lungs. And on the x-ray, the normal lungs showed up black, but my lungs showed up almost entirely white. And he said to JC, Shayna, and Reggie, I don't know how she's breathing. They walked back into the room, and Dr. Levitoff told them, we're going to have to intubate her and put her in a drug-induced coma and put her on a ventilator. So JC and Reggie And Shayna had to leave the room. And they intubated me, put me in a drug-induced coma, and put me on a ventilator. Now, a lot of times, people don't focus on the family or the loved ones when someone is critically ill. I was suffering physically, but they were suffering emotionally. They were dealing with uncertainty. They were dealing with fear and with a lot of stress, questioning whether or not they made a good decision, whether they should have left me in Roanoke Memorial, or whether they should have sent me to one of those other hospitals. My daughter had come down from Fairfax County, and she was in the middle of planning for a wedding, moving to another apartment, and she was about to finish the work for her master's degree. She later told me, "Mom, those were the worst days of my life." Reggie stayed by my side 2 days. As a matter of fact, somebody in my family was with me day and night, 24 hours, from the time I went into the hospital. So Reggie has stayed there 2 nights, and one of the nurses convinced him to go home. And he said when he got home, he just felt numb. He just said he just fell down and prayed. That's all he could do, felt helpless. And he said that he walked through the house and prayed, "God, please bring her back so she can fuss at me some more." Our son was in Denver, not Daniel, but Denver. Our son was in Denver, Colorado. JC got in touch with him and got him ticket to come home. He dropped everything he was doing. He came home. So what do you do? What do you do when a doctor tells you we've done all we can do? It's in the master's hands. What do? I'll tell you what you do. You go to another doctor. You go to a higher doctor. You go to the doctor of doctors. So my family and my husband's family started praying. And they started reaching out to people who they knew, who believed in the power of prayer and healing. It wasn't anybody, it wasn't people who could just pray and don't believe, or who can believe and don't pray. But they believed in people of faith who believed that prayer and faith could work in healing. They went to God on my behalf. They didn't just go to people to pray for me who were Baptists. They went to all faith, people of all faiths, Methodists, Presbyterians, Catholics, people they knew, and asked them to pray for me. They believed that God didn't just listen to people who had money. God listens to people of all socioeconomic stations. God didn't care about your racial or ethnic background. They went to people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds. They reached out to Blacks, to whites, Hispanics. All these were people of faith, were going to God on my behalf. I'm told that one day 9 ministers came into my room and prayed for me. And God was listening. God was listening. 6 days, I woke up and the machine was gone. And standing over me and smiling were Shayna and Reggie on one side and JC on the other side. Now, I was hallucinating. I was hallucinating because Reggie and Shayna both had 3 eyes. There was like cyclops eyes in there. And JC was some color, I don't know. It was some kind of orange that they didn't name. But I couldn't talk. I asked Shayna to come, motion for her to come so I could tell her something. And she leaned down, and when she got up, she said, Mama said, you all are digging her grave at 7 Mount Airy. Now, she didn't understand. She thought it was funny. But while I was in the hospital, one of the few things I remember was having this vision that one of my brothers was standing at my grave, or standing at a place where they were gonna put my grave. I told you Reggie and Shayna were standing over me. JC was on the other side looking kind of orange. Shayna and Reggie looked like cyclops. So Shayna told me later on what they had said. And she said, Mama, when you looked at us, you looked scared. So you must have thought you were in hell. I was back. I spent some time in the step-down unit, and then I was moved to another room. We were happy that I was alive, but I couldn't walk. And I had trouble doing simple tasks like eating and dressing myself. When I told the nurses, I didn't remember anything that had happened to me, or I remember very little. She told me that when someone was in pain, as much pain as I was in, and someone had been given all that high-powered medicine that I'd been given, your mind has a way of blocking out pain, and you can't remember it. And I'm glad I didn't remember it. Anyway, she said the pain, the medicine too was contributing to my not being able to remember things. Well, getting back to normal wasn't easy, but scripture started coming to my mind. When I needed something, when I needed to do something that I couldn't do, Philippians 4:13 came to me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Okay. Tell me I have 3 minutes. When I became dismayed and tried to figure out what happened to me and why, and what my future was going to be like, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 came. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. One morning I was that scripture came to comfort me. One morning I was in the room, I was sitting looking in a mirror. I hadn't looked in the mirror a long time, and I was almost afraid to. But I looked in the mirror and it seemed like I was just looking, I can't explain it. It was a glow about me. And I thought of the words to a song that the choir at our church used to sing when I was a kid. And some of the words were, I looked at my hands and my hands looked new. I looked at my feet and they did too. And ever since that wonderful day, my soul's been satisfied. You know, I started thanking and praising God. The crying and the feeling of hopelessness left me. I started feeling different on the inside. While God was working on healing my body, He was also working on healing my heart. And that's a different story. Because for many years, I was an angry woman. I had been working, I've been dealing with unresolved grief. I've been dealing with stress at the workplace. I was dealing with Reggie's cancer. I had taken a second job when Shana went to Roanoke College to make extra money. So I was leaving home at 8 o'clock some mornings and not getting back until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I was worried about my son. With times we didn't know where he was. And so I had spent a lot of time dealing with a lot of stress. I spent 12 days in rehab. And I had physical and occupational therapy. But on one Sunday I was there, I had the TV on. It was on Robert Schumer's show, Our Power. And his son was talking about it. And his text was taken from Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Those words really captured my attention. Still, Sheila said something about we get our priorities all mixed up and our lives become hectic because we don't take time to be still and let God talk to us. The sermon inspired me so much. Here I am on a walker, having to have a walker to move 20 feet. But spiritually and emotionally, I feel better than I felt in a long time. Those people, the prayers of the righteous availeth much. Those people who had gone to God on my behalf helped with my healing. When I got back to my doctor in Rocky Mount, he told me, with all that went wrong with you, you are a miracle. My response was, I'm glad I know the miracle worker. There have been case studies done. There have been books and articles written by people at a lot of places. And when I did some research, I found out that some of those people were associated with Duke University, Harvard, Boston College, among other places. I've interviewed some doctors who believe in have evidenced the power of prayer and faith in healing. I wish I had thought when I told my family doctor back in Rocky Mount, I wish I had thought to tell him, instead of I'm a miracle, I know the miracle worker. I wish I had thought to tell him, I am a living testimony. God bless you.
Don't go away. Thank you for that. Thank you for that
Thank you.
wonderful story. It's our tradition to provide a honorarium, and this week the honorarium goes to Relay for Life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with nothing else to add, I say we're adjourned.
Beautiful done. May I have you? We're meeting. Thank you.